What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer, joined by Justin Fan and Mike Gallagher. Finally, the trio is together. All the Thanos rings. We're ready to go. Crank out this injury report. Talk to you about this. What do we got? 9-game slate. Another 9-gamer tonight.
Yeah.
All right. So, Justin, how you doing, my man? I'm glad to be on camera with you finally. I've missed the last 2 shows you were in. I was traveling, but thank you for joining us once again. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy and all the best news team in the business.
Appreciate it, man. Good to be on and good to have the full squad back together. So excited to get into this, man.
Mike, how are you doing on this fine Friday?
Doing good. I had some bad OKC takes, so I put out the Homer Bush with flag planting Lou Dort. Tough scene for my OKC boys. So it felt like the Homer.
I mean, they were just a 75-pointer away. If they could just get one more 75-pointer, they could have won that one.
I really do think Taysom Hill was watching OKC tape during drive yesterday to get some inspiration.
Yeah, an outrageous evening in the NBA last night. Lots of blowouts. Pretty frustrating if you're trying to play DFS and all the games are blowouts. Just hard to project, hard to predict. And then, of course, the one game that stays tight is Phoenix and Detroit, and we get 38 minutes of Jeremy Grant. Always fun. Always fun. All right, let's get into the injury stuff. I'm going to let you guys do all the talking because this is your guys' specialty. But let's start. First, big question mark on the day, Anthony Davis. I feel like we're always talking Lakers whenever we're doing the show, Justin. So what do you got on a read on Anthony Davis tonight?
Yeah, so Davis jammed his thumb on Tuesday against the Kings player's knee. He had that thumb wrapped up and taped up in the first quarter and played through it. Didn't seem to affect him too much. It might have been the Kings defense, but he finished with 25 points on 12 for 22 shooting. We'll see. I would lean towards him playing. Yes, the Lakers have been very loosey-goosey throughout the years, especially this season, listing AD, listing LeBron. LeBron's probable, obviously playing, clearing the protocols. Like, why are we even bothering listing him? He's had this injury for like 3 weeks now. So fully expect LeBron to play. And we saw, without AD, against Indiana, I think the only game he missed this season actually started LeBron at the 4 instead of Melo. So I would guess it would be I'm not sure what Avery Bradley's status is. They said he might be active but might not play because of that thumb. So we'll see about him too. So it would probably be like Russ, Bradley, THT, LeBron, and Dwight. I would guess if Bradley's available, then maybe you sub Ellington for Bradley if Bradley's unable to go. I'm leaning for them to have their big 3 tonight. We've seen this season with their 3 healthy, AD's been that guy, 49 FanDuel points per game in the 9 games they've all played together. LeBron 48 and Russ at 40. So that's what I'm expecting from the Lakers injury wise today.
And then Mike, we're gonna have a rotation challenge, right?
What's up?
We're gonna have a rotation change with the
and I was just gonna add, he's had thumb issues before. 3rd time he's been listed with a thumb injury this season. I think you covered most of it. But the other side of this is the center change. Frank Vogel said he wants to change to go to Dwight Howard. DeAndre Jordan's been horrible, so no surprise there. And he had a really interesting quote saying he wanted to basically give the center minutes normally to 2 guys to give it to 1 guy. So that should mean some extra rotations for Dwight Howard against the Clippers, who are playing, pretty much center basketball now, not going small ball, and that they don't have Batum. So potentially some minutes going to Dwight here, especially if AD doesn't play.
Yeah, if AD doesn't play, what do you think they do at center? If they would usually play AD some minutes there, right? And what do you think happens?
Yeah, I mean, they'd have to bring DeAndre in there, I think. Dwight's minutes upside would be really high. We saw in the last game he got, quite a bit. They basically said, screw it, you're bad. They played him 35 minutes in the Kings game earlier this week too. So his minutes outside would be huge.
All right, let's talk about Minnesota.
We're not projecting Jordan at all. Just for the comment there, we think he's done.
Yeah, and I think that Vogel said that they'd maybe alternate who gets the opportunities there, but Dwight's a way better player than DeAndre, so I would expect him to continue.
And even
to
going
hold.
weeks ago, he was saying this, that he was going to cut it down to 1 center eventually.
Yeah. All right, let's move on
DeAndre Jordan got to be the best friend in the NBA to be so still can't believe this team was like starting DeAndre and like Avery Bradley. Like it's mind-boggling to me, like how bad like it is. It's gotten to where they're starting those. Really? Oh, they were starting.
He helps people move. Like airport trips. Watches dogs. I mean, he must be the best friend.
Hey, it's good to get paid like an NBA player to be a good friend. I'm working on it myself to see if I can find a way into the NBA by just being a great friend. I'm available for anyone out there who wants to pay me a couple $1 million a year. All right, Minnesota. Let's move to them. The big question mark there is Karl Anthony Towns is questionable tonight, but also on the injury report, they've been like stricken with the flu and a bunch of guys questionable with illnesses and in and out. Jaden's already been ruled out, I believe. Justin, what are we expecting from Minnesota tonight?
Yeah, we got the news that Cat went through shoot around, which is obviously really promising. Finch didn't commit to a status. He said he'll kind of see how he feels tonight, but obviously that's really encouraging. We got the news that X-rays were negative. Yesterday, I think we got reports that he was feeling better. So, he's kind of on track to play, I would say, given that information. Though it wouldn't totally shock me if they hold him out in this spot. Not a great spot overall. The Nets defense has improved. This is the first end of a back-to-back for the Nets, but they only playing these 2 games Friday and Saturday in a span of 7 days. So they can definitely, feel free to extend the minutes even in the first leg of a back-to-back. And, so I'm a little worried about maybe some sort of blowout risk here, potentially with that 7.5 point spread. I think it might be a little concerning, especially if Cat isn't 100%. And if Cat ends up missing, I guess, front court, it'll be Naz Reid, Vanderbilt, and Nathan Knight in a pinch if they really need him, which they probably won't go to. And Cat off the court, D'Angelo Russell, 31% usage, and 29% usage, Malik Beasley, 22% usage. So, I think that about covers it. All the other guys kind of outside of Cat should play, like Anthony Edwards, Jared Vanderbilt. That was the expectation for Finch when he talked earlier today that all those guys are fully expected to go.
And I think on the McDaniel side of this, it's kind of interesting, right? Because you would think if I had him, I think they'd start him and put him on Harden, and obviously put Vando on KD. But without him, I don't think Taurean Prince has any use in this rotation. So honestly, I think they might just start Beasley right out of the gate and kind of team approach Harden and cover him that way. I just don't think anybody's really. You don't really want to put Ant on him. So not having Vando in the spot is really helpful for some of the wings to step up and get some more minutes.
You don't think they start Okogie? They've kind of used Okogie as the defensive stopper.
I would lean towards them starting Okogie.
Yeah, they should start Okogie. I take that back. Sorry.
Yeah. So without McDaniels, we've seen like basically the range of outcomes on the minutes on the wing, or the kind of wing-ish guys like Taurean Prince, Okogie, has been higher and more volatile. We saw Okogie get up to 33 in that game against Indy. But in this last game against Washington, you see really it just kind of condensed on the main guys. And so I think there's some different outs that this could, happen. I, too, with Justin, am a little bit concerned about game environment, just 7.5 point spread and where this goes from there. Been looking at some Timberwolves unders today and took one on the props line, kind of leaning into that. We took Anthony Edwards under 3.5 threes today as one of our bets. So we're looking in that direction as well. All right. Keeping things rolling kind of here on the injury front. We've also got Tobias, who it looks like it's going to be a questionable as well. I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, this is the flu illness thing after he just got over COVID. Like,
yeah, we'll see. That he's not on the shoot. He's still not on an injury list as of 1:30 Eastern. So, but he didn't go through shoot around. So we'll see if he ends up popping up. He definitely could be. Haven't really gotten that much more information there. I would want to keep an eye on Joel Embiid. I think he's fine, but he had a bandage and a wrap on that right wrist this morning going through shoot around. I think he got hit by Enes Kanter last game, and he made this comment afterwards that Enes Kanter had a little bit too much freedom in that scenario. So that's something to keep an eye on. If Tobias misses, we saw recently Georges Niang get the starts in the 2 games that he was out. the last 2 games, and he didn't do that well in 32.2 minutes. He averaged like 17 FanDuel points per game. They have really their other guys back in Joel Embiid, Seth Curry, Tyrese Maxey. So yeah, if Tobias is out, how interested are you in Georges Niang? Do you think that's kind of trappy, or are you still kind of willing to go there against Atlanta?
I'll add really quick. I think it's a good matchup. They're going to want the extra size against John Collins. So,
Sure.
We would see sometimes they would go with Thibault, and I think they might just start Thibault over Danny Green, honestly, with the way Trae Young's been playing. But yeah, I think it's interesting, right? Not the greatest matchup as far as like producing statistics, but I think the minutes matchup is pretty good for him.
Yeah, I think, the Philadelphia guys, I'd have to actually look at prices on where they've kind of come. They were so overpriced for a while because of playing without Joel and playing without Tobias. We saw I think the books have corrected on Maxey today. The last few lines that they've thrown out on Maxey have been really terrible based on rates with what he had done performance wise without Tobias and without Joel. I do think it's a little bit more interesting this time around just because of the matchup that you might get a little bit more of Niang getting that split if Tobias was out compared to in the past where you've seen it be kind of a little bit hot handy with Korkmaz, with Shake and different things just because of the matchup. So I would consider these guys kind of fringy, would be kind of my first instinct, and probably not the plays. The other thing about Niang is this guy was an all-around producer in college where he would kind of fill up the stat sheet with everything. And same thing in his early days in Utah, he's become just kind of like a 3-point shooter now. Yeah. He basically just shoots threes and doesn't really get many boards or assists. So usually not the guy that I'm trying to lean into. So probably not the spot tonight for me. But we'll see what happens with Tobias. It's these illness situations. And Justin, we were talking about this earlier in the week, Mike and I, about how the injury report analysis show is different when all the injuries are illnesses because we have no idea on how to prognosticate how sick someone is. Right. We can talk about we see when an ankle gets turned or when there's bandages or wraps or different things like that, but it's really hard to speculate on whether a guy's going to play through a fever or not. So yeah, we'll see with Tobias.
The best we have is just kind of shoot around, right? And that's kind of what we're going off of. And Tobias didn't go through shoot around, which is obviously a little concerning. But I think that this is a situation where we'll have to wait until pre-game media availability and see what the comments look like. See if Tobias even pops up on the injury report, or if this was just like a precautionary holdout for shoot around and it's not really that big a deal. So we're kind of still needing a little bit more information here on Tobias.
The good news is Doc Rivers is always very forthright in his comments. We can feel really confident in whatever comments we get that they're the truth.
10-man rotation tonight, and then it's going to be 6 guys.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with Doc, I almost think it's gotten to the point where you want to do the opposite of whatever he says because he's just been he's told us times before that Embiid was going to be fine and Embiid's been out. He's told us Embiid's going to be out and Embiid's played. He's told us they're going to tighten the rotation or they're going to they have to loosen the rotation because they have overplayed guys and then he plays it even tighter. He's very I guess I shouldn't say he's very inconsistent in his commentary. It seems like he's consistently lying. But maybe it's the Clippers lineage. It's traveled through over the years because the Clippers and their injury report are a whole nother thing.
All right, with the Simpsons, this is basically Doc with the way he does pregame pressers.
All right, let's move over to Houston where Kevin Porter Jr. is questionable. Christian Wood came up probable on the injury report. That was a little bit surprising to me. You've got DJ Augustine back in the mix. I don't know how much of a difference that really makes because the question mark, I guess, is before when we saw Kevin Porter Jr. out, we did not see DJ Augustine pick up a ton of minutes because they had Jalen Green, and it was an opportunity to get Jalen Green, longer looks at handling the ball. Without Jalen Green, I don't know. Maybe they would play DJ Augustine more in this scenario. So what do you think the likelihood we see KPJ tonight? Are you concerned about Christian Wood still, or does the probable tag remove some of that concern, Justin?
Yeah, so Christian Wood said he'll play. So I think he's 95% plus to go unless some setback with that ankle happens during pregame warmup. So I'm pretty much penciling him in as a go. So KPJ, we know he's had this thigh contusion pop up repeatedly. Would not surprise me if he missed. The issue here with DJ Augustine is that they have some options, so they can run Eric Gordon at point. They have Armani Brooks, who ran 29 and a half minutes last game, right? So and DJ Augustin kind of coming back from that absence. I'm a little skeptical about what his actual minute ceiling is in this spot, if they really want to run him out there for that long. But it is a good spot just generally, just with the Magic starter defense like being a little shaky, and the spread is Rockets -3 right now. They're favored. Yeah. So no blowout risk, which is great. So my question here is more, I'm interested in your guys' opinion on the potential absence of KPJ on Christian Wood, right? We've seen this turnaround for Christian Wood over the last couple of games. Obviously, Daniel Tice being out of rotation helps a lot, him being at the 5 with Jayshawn Tate at the 4. But another part of that is that they're running a lot of pick and roll with KPJ and Christian Wood together. If that ends up being Eric Gordon, DJ Augustin, Armani Brooks instead, how much does that hurt Christian Wood in this spot, especially against a Magic defense that is stronger, I'll say, on the interior with Wendell Carter Jr. and Mo Bamba? Yeah,
just to add some details on the Wood thing, this is the same right ankle that he sprained twice when he got off in a wheelchair. So that's a little noteworthy here. We'll see how he feels. He obviously, he tried to go back out there too, so it didn't look bad. But I think that's probably why they pulled the plug on him with some concerns. And yeah, you nailed it, man. The Magic are number 2 in the NBA at limiting roll-man scoring. And as you said, like the foundation of their offense has been KPJ Wood pick and roll. So, without KPJ playing, as you said, this is the 3rd time he's been hitting the same spot in his thigh. Didn't miss time the first time, missed time the second time. And so you would think he'd miss time here. So I don't think they're going to play DJ Augustin much. I think it's going to be a lot of Jayshawn Tate handling the ball with the point forward stuff. We saw a lot of that last year. So he would be in a huge spot. And it would be huge for Armani Brooks. The Magic allow the most spot up points in the NBA. So I think Armani Brooks could really be firing in this spot here.
Yeah, I think from a pick and roll standpoint, Kevin Porter Jr. is the best pick and roll player that the Rockets have by a pretty wide margin. DJ Augustin is competent at running pick and roll, but he's small. So when you're small, it's harder to feed the bigs, especially when you get flashed at. So I think this would hurt Christian Wood a bit. I don't think people are going to play him anyway, like coming off the injury and, getting basically a 2 or a 3, depending on the site that you were playing with last game. So I don't think people are going to play him, but I don't think it's a spot to try to be contrarian and take an opportunity, because his usage rate this year without Kevin Porter Jr. on the floor has actually gone down. In games without Kevin Porter Jr., not without him on the floor. And that's partly because they were giving Jalen Green a lot of these looks, and Jalen Green just had no clue how to run a pick and roll. Right. So
Dink, how interested are you in Jayshawn Tate? If KPJ is out,
he has been crushing of late. Honestly, that's a good question. I don't know. Like I'm tempted to not buy the recent performance and to kind of get off the train as a contrarian tournament player. But that's my initial instinct.
Gallagher, seems like you're pretty into Jayshawn.
I'm in. Yeah, if you can't play, I think it's a really good spot. Yeah. They're not too. I think they're going to beat him with a lot of shooting, but he can handle the ball quite a bit. Like I think it's going to be a lot of Eric Gordon bombing, a lot of Armani Brooks bombing. But he's not just going to have a huge role. He's really, if DJ Augustin's limited coming off the COVID stuff, they just need ball handlers right now. Like Armani Brooks isn't a ball handler. So we know that Silas, especially last year when KPJ was hurt and they were running him as a point guard, even when he had a hurt back, they were like, oh, we're so bad, we have to play him at point forward. So yeah, I think that he's going to have a really, really big role. Obviously the game last time, I mean, it was like, I think him and was it Elijah Wan who went 30 and 5, whatever it was. He had like some crazy stat.
Yeah, he went 32, 10 and 7 with 5 blocks and 2 steals.
Yeah, it's insane.
Do they count these games against Oklahoma City in the official records? do they do that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Man,
they played pretty tough though.
Must be nice.
41 points.
Justin, I was going to ask you, the Rockets being favored here, because you do dabble in some sports betting angle stuff.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. I was actually pretty surprised. Like I already hit the Magic. I think it's mispriced, especially if Christian Wood. Like the problem with the Rockets, their side is like these injuries are lingering and they're actually serious. They're not like one offers, right? Like KPJ has been dealing with a thigh injury for a while now.
Yeah.
Can easily aggravate it and not finish the game. Like Christian Wood, I thought that ankle was pretty significant and a little surprised that he just like this morning we get a set hole play right away on him, right? So definitely surprised about that spread. I like the side for sure.
I feel like the recent 4-game winning streak for Houston's obviously factoring in here, but 2 of those games were against Oklahoma City, and then obviously the other like injury issues, and then I think Orlando hasn't been playing as well of late, but a big part of that is they were without Cole Anthony, and Cole Anthony is such a huge difference maker in terms of their on-off numbers without Cole this year.
I think he's like top 5 in like efficiency differential in the league. 25 points per 100 possessions or something.
Yeah. So my inclination would be to be kind of interested in the Magic side of things there. I know it's a road game. It's it's the Magic. You're not super excited about it, but I feel like they especially if KPJ sits and Wood's banged up, I feel like they're the better talented roster that's going to be playing out there.
And I'll add too. I was going to say it's Wendell Carter Jr. has done a really good job on defense. He held Embiid down the other game. Jokic didn't totally smash on him. He's been solid, and he'd get the Wood assignment, I would imagine.
Two things. I don't know if we have any Wendell Carter Jr. fans in the house. I have no idea. I don't know if we talk about him more than Drew Dinkmeyer. And secondly, how the hell is Gary Harris playing this much in 2021?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like they cloned Gary Harris, and they got like some healthy version, and he's out here playing 35 minutes a night now. It's crazy. He's been able to be healthy, and then Terrence Ross can't make a shot this year. It's been kind of a weird thing for Orlando guards. All right, let's keep it moving over to Washington, where they have some small questionables that I do think impact the fringes of the rotation. So Denny Avdija, who brought latkes to shoot around for everybody for Happy Hanukkah, and Aaron Holiday are both questionable and on the injury report. What are your expectations for them being able to play, Justin? And then Mike, after that, how would you expect the rotation to be impacted if either of them miss?
Yeah, so Unseld said, I believe it was yesterday, that both of them are fully expected to play, even despite their Q tags. Denny went through shoot around this morning. So I think I'm pretty certain, especially Denny will play after shoot around. And he said Aaron Holiday is definitely more on the probable side of the Q tag than anything. So these are ones that I'm fully expecting both to go.
Yep. And I don't think it really matters too much. Obviously, Kispert kind of goes away. I don't really think it's going to affect anybody else. Like maybe Bertans gets cut down a little bit, but not much too much. You're really going to impact it. But I know Drew and I were talking a lot about the matchup here for the center minutes because we saw in the last game against Cat, they actually put Kyle Kuzma on him, and they kind of helped with Gafford and with Trez. So you would think they wouldn't go that route again against the gigantic Cavs. So I don't really think Bertans is going to get any or maybe just a couple center minutes.
Yeah. The thing that I just note is when they do have Avdija and Holiday, Kispert usually goes away. Kispert or Bertans, one of those two guys. And then I think just because of the matchup and the way Daniel Gafford's playing of late, there's the potential that Bertans' minutes get really squeezed. And Gafford's a tough guy to project from a minute standpoint because he fouls a ton, and you'll have these games where he gets down to like 14 or 12. He's left some games early with injury as well, and he doesn't have a ceiling that's like much beyond this 27, 28 mark. So he's a guy that's kind of tough to get the minutes projection up on him, but he's been playing really, really well of late. The rebounding's been there for him, which is kind of the big difference maker. And, they will need size tonight against Jared Allen and the Cavs, obviously. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Bertans really get squeezed here tonight.
And just to add really quick on Harrell, I pulled up the game log from them. He actually kind of went off, and you kind of think he wouldn't because Unseld's pulled him against really pick and roll heavy guards like Luka and those dudes. So it's kind of it could go two ways for Harrell to see how things go. And Gafford's also still playing with that thumb injury as well.
Yeah. Okay. Josh Hart, questionable for New Orleans. What do we think on him tonight, Justin?
Yeah, I don't have a read. I don't know if you have any opinions there. We haven't got too much information on him. We saw Garrett Temple got the start in his spot. It looks like Herb Jones has that starting spot kind of cemented for now. And then we saw against the Mavs, they went with a really small second unit with NAW, Cairo, and Satoransky both seeing significant time together. Obviously, I mean, directly, I'm not sure it has a ton of impact. I'm never, ever touching Garrett Temple. He can play 21, 22 minutes in his spot start. I think he'd have to play the full 48 for me to get even remotely interested. I mean, I'll defer to you guys on any sort of potential takeaways with the Hart injury.
Yeah, not much. The other noteworthy thing is this isn't the same right quad tendinosis; it's the other knee. So I guess that's somewhat noteworthy. But yeah, I don't have much of a read on that too. I think you kind of nailed it, and I mean it's a rematch. We just saw these guys get wrecked. It was one of the most efficient games from Dallas.
The one thing I note is that when Hart is out, it does increase the rebounding opportunities for both Ingram and Valanciunas, but it also makes them. I mean, Hart's one of their better players,
right?
And they don't have a lot of good players on New Orleans, so his absence also, which has been the problem with trying to play New Orleans guys all year long, is like, who knows when they're actually going to play a competitive game? They go in and they win in Utah, and then they get blown out by like everybody else, and so the upside increases for Hart and Valanciunas, or for Ingram and Valanciunas if Hart is out, but so does the variance in terms of being able to keep a game competitive. And I think they're 7.5 point underdog, something like that. It's
6.5.
Yeah.
I agree with you, man. It's like a give and take, right? Like you're taking on like a theoretical per minute level, but you're giving the minutes floor away.
Yeah, and I'm actually like a little bit surprised by the line, just given the last game and how this went. But we'll see. I don't have a good read on Hart. I will say this: like New Orleans has been really slow to bring guys back this year. So like Ingram was questionable and missed like 5 games in a row with questionable tags. So Hart is kind of, we'll see if he follows along those same lines.
It's called soreness too, so that's usually a mild indication.
It's called tanking.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I call it what it is.
Pelican pie. Oh man, Zion. By the way, that's a whole nother thing.
That's brutal.
Like, Justin, is Zion playing this year?
Yeah. If you're him, why would you rush back? Like, what are you coming back to? Like, what's the entire point? I think he's going to get paid no matter what, right? So if you're him, it's like kind of take it easy, make sure you're 100%. I don't think he's there long term. That's maybe a spicy take, but I just there's no incentive.
I got a nickname. If he's ever good, cause he's had all these scans. We have like the Calvin Johnson Megatron. Can we call him Scantron? Because he's like old Scantron test. Just made that one.
That is telling on yourself and your age, Mike, with the audience here. The Scantrons. All right, players that are returning to action tonight. Paul George, he was rested last game. Royce O'Neal looks like he's back, and then Mike, you have Daddy Clax on the list. Are we expecting Daddy Clax to actually get some game time?
Yeah. I don't know if he's going to play or not, but it kind of makes sense, right? Against Cat. Cat is going to roast LaMarcus. So I know they usually use Claxton more of like, it's almost like a wing defender sometimes. Like he's guarded Dame. He's guarded like a lot of perimeter guys. But like I've been saying, like perimeter guys, like Kuzma was on him. That was a smart move from the Wizards, even though he went off. But I think he might get some minutes here. Blake's obviously fallen out of favor. I think it's something to watch. Not that you would play him, but it takes a little bit of upside off LaMarcus, just a bit.
Yeah.
But like Millsap could be a little bit risky. James Johnson, etc.
Back end of Brooklyn rotations are always a nightmare to project. Because they go so matchup heavy. I don't think if he plays, it has a huge impact on anyone other than Aldridge. Just because it would limit his minute ceiling there. But do you have any read on that, Justin, whether Claxton is going to return to the rotation or occasionally in the rotation?
Yeah, I would think just kind of with their depth, they'd really ease him in. I haven't seen too much on his conditioning and any sort of like direct reports about how he's been doing and what their plans for him initially are in the rotation. I would expect if he ends up returning, it would be definitely kind of like under 10 minutes. They just kind of get his feet wet and kind of ramp him up from there. So, kind of echoing what Mike was saying earlier.
Yeah. Other injury situations that we got a little bit more clarity on in terms of like new players that are out. I don't want to go too much into Jaylen Brown. We've seen Jaylen Brown be out so much this year with Boston that I think we have a decent handle on that. But Kristaps Porzingis is doubtful tonight. I think Mike and I were both surprised that he played last game. And now doubtful again, just given his injury history. What do you think on KP? Do you think this is a multi-game situation that we're going to miss him?
Yeah, we'll see. This is the first end of a back-to-back for them, I believe, and they might just kind of be saving him for the second leg on Saturday against Memphis. So, with their size with Jaren and Steven Adams up front. So, I I don't know. We'll kind of see. The fact that he was downgraded makes me, maybe lean towards it maybe being a potential, multi-game absence, but don't have a hard read on that. So, yeah, I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr., Jalen Brunson, in this spot, they'll need some size too against Joe Val. Might see a little Boban without Willie Cauley-Stein. So, yeah, I mean, I think we've seen this game, on Wednesday, get a sense of where things are at. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for me on what I got for that situation.
Yeah, Nika Tuja got dinged up. Doesn't sound serious. I think it's just a one and done thing.
Okay.
But A, it's Kristaps. You never really know with him. And B, I'm sure Jason Kidd will clear all this up for us later.
Another coach that has not been willing to even share information most of the press conferences this year. Okay, we also have TJ McConnell ruled out for Indy, and that should adjust their rotation slightly because they have leaned on McConnell quite a bit and open up, probably honestly more wing minutes. They also have Brad Wanamaker, right, as well, who can kind of come in and take on some of that role. We saw that last game where he played, 15, 16 minutes. I think they're fine with him in that role, but that still is going to shift some minutes to the wings because I think TJ was more in the 20s. I don't think Wanamaker is going to play into the 20s. So how do you expect this to impact the rotation tonight, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, it kind of just bolsters the minutes floors of some of these starters like Brogdon, Duarte, and LeVert only played 28 minutes last game. So I would say those two in particular, like Jeremy Lamb barely played. I think he played like a dozen minutes. I don't think they want to extend Bradley Wanamaker that much. So yeah, I think that's probably my biggest takeaway, just kind of bolsters the floor of like the Brogdons and the Duartes.
Yeah, no back-to-back either, so that's definitely a good thing for maybe LeVert gets up there. LeVert has had kind of been capped, but some quotes from Carlisle too about, just like changing things. He was not really happy with some of their play against the Hawks the other day.
Yeah, what is going on with LeVert in general? Because man, like he came out of the gates kind of firing with big usages, and he's been a disaster for like 2 weeks straight now, and the price keeps dropping, and I can't seem to drop his projection fast enough to keep up with it. So he rates like one of the best plays. Is there anything that you guys have seen like watching the Pacers that suggests that he's not fully healthy?
No, not really. I think it's just Carlisle more so than anything else. Like he just try to shake things up sometimes.
Man. All right. Well, I think that's it. Justin, did we miss anybody on the injury report that we should be covering tonight?
Let me see. So we got the Bam and Jimmy out again.
Yep.
I'll say this. So they played the Cavs last game. Obviously, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. They have another big matchup today against the Pacers and Domas and Miles Turner. Dedmon and Hero started for them. They got killed. They lost by 26, but one really encouraging thing in that 26-point blowout was Dedmon and Hero still played big minutes. Dedmon played 31, Hero played 36 and a half in a big blowout. So that really makes me feel a lot better about the floors, even, if this one gets potentially out of hand again. Dedmon, I think, is really solid. It's still pretty solid price tag on both sides. I think 4,800 on DK, 5,500 on FanDuel. This is a guy you can pencil in for 30 minutes. He's a good permanent producer, good rebounder, should pay off that price. Tyler Hero, his price tag didn't budge at all on FanDuel, still 7K over there. One thing I want to kind of get your take on is the rest of these guys. So Kyle Lowry, disappointed, didn't do too much. I think his usage was like 17%, not great.
It's actually been down on the season compared to a seasonal average when Bam and Jimmy are both off the floor, which is very strange.
It's very strange. And then want to get your take on potentially, I don't know if this is digging too deep, but Caleb Martin played 27 and a half minutes on the bench. Good thing for him. I think that sets him apart from Max Strus or Gabe Vincent. You look at the first half rotation, Caleb Martin played 13 minutes in the first half. So he, I don't think it was inflated too much by the blowout. He should still be in like that 25 to 28 minute range off the bench. So get your take on Lowry and then get your take on Caleb Martin.
Yeah, I'd say first with Lowry, from my eye test, just watching the games this year, he does not look like he has the same juice. And he was a guy that when he created shots for himself in the past in terms of usage, it was all in transition. Right. It was not a lot of half court creation, right? Whether he was playing with DeMar or Pascal or, OG or whoever they'd rely on other guys in the half court and be kind of a spot up shooter. So I actually don't know that he's positioned to fill a lot of usage in the absence of Jimmy and Bam. I think, naturally that's kind of where you go. He has shown a really big assist rate jump when those two are off the floor, which makes sense. So I think he's going to facilitate a lot. I think they're going to try to run a lot of their offense through Strus or Robinson based on those, what Spoelstra will call them, like running routes as receivers, essentially around the floor to trying to get up open threes. Robinson is in an unbelievably terrible shooting slump.
So I want to mention Robinson. Is Duncan Robinson something really weird that?
Yeah, you're going to steal my stat. I was going to take
his home road splits. He's shooting 38% from three on the road and 22% from three at home. Like he can't. He's been in last game they played at home. Like he's terrible, right? Today they're on the road. Against Indiana. So 38% three. I don't know. This is maybe.
I mean, I don't know. The home road splits can be highly variant in small samples. So I have no idea what's going on. But it's been dreadful. I've been taking some Robinson threes props, and my God, like we're getting like 12 attempts a game and still not hitting them. He's just been awful.
Spoelstra pulled him. His little 3-point streak got ended, and it's like, why do you put him back in?
Yeah, I mean, when you go 1 for 19 over like a 2-game span, I think it's time to cut the cord a little bit there. But I think Strus and Robinson. The one thing on Caleb is that if Strus and Robinson were both shooting well, I think that could squeeze Caleb. But I think they generally view Strus and Robinson as like one player. Generally, because if they have them both on the floor, like it's hard movement wise to do the same types of things because they do. So they'd rather have Caleb cutting on the sideline, on the baseline, than they would have like these two guys running routes. It just gets too confusing. So I think you won't see a ton of overlap from them. Agree with you on Dedmon. I also think the other thing that I noted about this matchup with Cleveland last time out is I don't think they're comfortable with your 7 at all. And against big, like they're comfortable playing PJ at the 5, but you can't against these really, really big teams. And that's going to be the case with Indiana again tonight, that they can't. So Dedmon's going to have to play as much as he can before he fouls out or before he hurts himself. And that's the history of Dwayne Dedmon, who's been a very effective bench player in the NBA, but has had troubles staying out of foul trouble and has had trouble staying healthy. And so it'll be interesting to see like how much they can ride him during the course of these next few weeks while Bam is out, because they really need Markieff Morris back to get some front court depth.
Yeah, Dedmon's had that Q tag last game too. He's not like 100% healthy either. So one last thing on Duncan Robinson, not a great spot for him. Indiana's been really good limiting 3-point attempts, limiting wide open threes. So just not a good spot for him overall. But we'll see if he can bounce back on the road. 2 more injuries.
If I could just put, you guys took all my hot stats, like what the hell? But one, like literally, I get the dead, like, oh, God, this is not fun for me. But just to allude to your point, like Hero's destroyed in the non-Bam, non-Jimmy stuff. Well, Lowry hasn't, like 28 per 36. Well, Lowry's been kind of so, and you guys hit everything also.
All right, so 2 more that we can hit on real quick. Devin Booker out, and then Cam Reddish out. Cam Reddish. We talked about this, I've been kind of hitting on this with Kevin Huerter. Without Cam Reddish, without Bogdanovic, they were starting TLC last game. They had Solomon Hill, super dusty. So we saw Kevin Huerter come out with a big game. He has a really high minutes floor as well. What do you guys have any kind of takeaways from the Cam Reddish situation, from the Devin Booker situations?
Yeah, interesting take from assistant coach Gent, because McMillan wasn't there the last game. He was saying that Huerter didn't have an off season because he was injured, and now he has his legs back, and we're seeing these minutes pop here. So I think Huerter's in a pretty good spot here. Not the greatest matchup. The Sixers play freaking slow as hell, like tied for the slowest in pace, but I think he's definitely in a really good spot. His minutes should be really secure. TLC revenge game. His minutes should be pretty safe. We saw that quote major role, and that kind of held up. I don't really see any reason why things would change. I think they could get Gallo a good amount of minutes here too as well.
Yeah, Gallo getting up to 29 last game is really something. That's really towards the higher end of the range. I was surprised that they didn't start Solomon Hill, just because I thought like that's kind of the go-to thing that they've done in the past. And but I mean, he adds nothing other than a little bit of defense. TLC adds a little bit more shooting, so kind of
gets to the point where you're so dusty that you can't even go back to it. It just doesn't make any sense. You just got to grasp it. And TLC, hey, you get the spot start today.
Yeah. And then on Phoenix, they haven't filed anything on the injury report. Do you think there's any chance that they rest anybody? Okay.
Oh, that they rest anybody.
Yeah.
Who would be
I was speculating on this with Mike yesterday, where I thought that if they were in a spot where they felt like they had to play their main guys heavy minutes against Detroit, they could kind of pull the foot off the gas against Golden State and just be like, look, we beat you without our guy. We're not going to give you the satisfaction of getting the revenge against us right away when we're on the second night of a back-to-back and we're a little bit banged up. So like, just rest a few guys and be like, hey, you don't get the confidence boost of kind of redeeming yourself.
Do you think I think it matters a little bit, I would say, that they got flexed on national TV.
I agree.
It's being dropped that Lakers Clippers game with thinking LeBron would be out. Obviously, playing now, which is funny. But they're at the ESPN game tonight.
Yeah. Yep. I do think that lessens the impact. The other thing I would say is it's also there's a chance that these tiebreakers come into play for home court and whatnot, and so Phoenix might emphasize that as well. And
we need to check this too, but I think they're off until Tuesday after this game too.
Yeah,
which they're off for a little bit. Yeah. I'm with you. Fan took my freaking thing again, so yeah. I think, like we said, we'd be pretty shocked, as we were saying yesterday. But I mean, it's on the table,
Yeah, I mean, we saw Giannis yesterday, and that was,
shout out to Matt Lavender, who on our show was asking me about it. And I was like, they used to do that stuff, but were better last year about it. And they already announced the big Brook Lopez thing. And then boom, like 4 minutes before.
Yeah. I think people were speculating because that line felt pretty short throughout the day. There was something fishy going on. But it was definitely surprising because
I don't understand why they don't get fined by the NBA for that.
Yeah. Like, Giannis went through his usual pregame warm-up, right? And then obviously no one was thinking he would rest. No one asked the coach about it, during his media availability. Yeah. So it's like
they filed an injury report. Yeah. They lied on the injury report. Yeah. Like that should be a fine from the league.
Exactly.
Like, I understand.
They said he had calf soreness like during the game, so maybe he had it during warm-ups, but whatever.
So, all right, Justin, where can the good folks follow you in the Underdog Fantasy crew? Make sure they have all the up-to-date information on these injuries.
Yeah, man. Follow us on Underdog, double
underscore
NBA. We're continuing to grind there and give you the most recent up-to-date information. Was happy we got on Giannis yesterday. Was kind of wondering if we should, if I was sitting there for a minute, seeing if I should tweet out the in-game stat monitor, if that was too thin, if that was worth getting out and panicking people, but glad that ended up working out. So we'll be on top of the situations, as always moving forward. And you guys can follow.
Shout out to Blake Murphy, who tweeted that out. But that was crazy because I was like, so I was waiting for you to tweet it out. And I knew you were like, "Do I tweet?"
I was sitting there debating.
Oh, I know. I know.
Should I? And then I saw another person do it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just do it. Because I feel like
I got some good Bobby Portis juice in there in that time you were thinking. So I looked at that and Mo, I got lucky, yo. He hit that late 3 to get me over. But,
make sure to follow the guys
it's crazy.
At Underdog __ NBA. They're the best in the business at getting news. We have a Slack feed dedicated just to their news feed. Basically for our guys while we're working on projections and whatnot. They often are even beating the injury report that eventually gets posted because they have all sorts of tricks in trades that they've developed over the years. So they're the best. Justin, thank you for joining us on these Fridays. We love having you here. Big fan of your work and the team over at Underdog. Mike, I hope you have a great weekend. You get out and smell the roses, smell the bushes behind you, and have a great time.
Well, I'm coming back with you on the show later, unless scheduled.
Yeah, well, three people, the plebes here, they don't know that. Yeah. The subscribers, they know you're coming back 5 o'clock Eastern time tonight with myself and Mike Gallagher breaking down the slate. All right, we will see you guys on Monday. Same place, same time, 2 o'clock Eastern. Enjoy your weekend. Best of luck in all the games tonight.